I'm Craig, the Vicar of Chipping Campden, Ebrington and Mickleton. I don't know if, like me, you're finding this process of coming out of lockdown perhaps more difficult than going into lockdown. We've got bubbles and we can meet people out of doors, but what constitutes a bubble? Who can be in and who can be out? What happens to those we exclude? What happens if it rains when we've arranged to meet people? This week the shops are going to be open, but it's going to be a very different experience shopping than it was before lockdown. And so it is with the opening of our church buildings. There will be certain restrictions there, and all of these things are so that we keep the R number below 1, the rate of infection below 1. Actually, as all of these things introduce uncertainty and anxiety, this week's gospel reading from Matthew chapter 9 can be a comfort. Jesus knew what he was about. Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. In the same passage, as he sends the disciples out, he says to them, as you go proclaim the good news, the kingdom of heaven has come near. And that's what we're to be about, whether in lockdown or coming out of lockdown, or when things return to normal. We're there to tell people about the good news, to say the kingdom has drawn near. Found something that the Bishop of Norwich, Graham Usher, wrote this week really helpful. But whilst we try and keep the rate of infection for the virus below 1, actually we want the rate of infection for the gospel to be above 1. The way that we love people, the way that we bring peace, the way that we experience joy, the way we're compassionate, the way that we're kind. We want all of those things to be way above 1, so that the gospel is growing, is spreading. That's our hope in lockdown and not in lockdown. Jesus says, the harvest is plentiful, the labourers are few. Our job is to be those people who go amongst the fields and gather the harvest, just as I will be gathering the artichokes behind me shortly.